Hey crafty babes, Andrea here. Today I am going to give you a little look inside my May and June 2021 personal storyline chapters notebook. In the past I have shown these to you. I can fit about 2 months worth of personal, kind of documenting personal stories. It's going to be things like food, outfits, Thursday threes, just different stories with me as the focus. And I can fit about 2 months into one. So I have a couple of the first ones already on my channel. So I have January, February, and March and April. So here is May and June. Let's get into this. Also, I have covered my own, and I have a reel on my Instagram showing how I use just regular pattern paper and adhesive to cover up these storyline chapters notebooks. Beginning with I like to open with a 2x2 square situation. These are 2x2 squares from Kelly Bangs Creative, and she did them every single month for the year of 2021. I took full advantage of them and made these really super fun pages. For this one, I used a variety of the ones that she had for May and then filled in the extra little spaces with some stamping. This was when I was starting to get into stamp layering and learning what colors look good on top of one another, what kinds of things I like to see when I'm doing stamp layering. So this one was super fun. There's also a reel of me creating this page as well. Here is a very quick one photo page. I like to make these basically grid collage kinds of things, where I basically just have sort of a centerpiece. You know, you've got a focal point, right? Like a title and a photo. And then around that is just supporting the photo, for supporting the story. So I like to just kind of fit things in like a mosaic where they feel good, but also still naturally leading your eye to certain places. So from here, you'd go top to bottom, you'd see this, then you see this, and then you go down to the text or the journaling. So these are just really fun ways to use up product, to play with color, because I had all these different colors that I could work with. And of course, I had an actual snack plate from one of the Kelly Bangs sets. I believe this was from one of her illustrated faith sets. These are not my favorite ways to document, but for this particular week, I just had a lot of photos and they didn't all, they weren't, number one, all cohesive in the color. And I've got a couple of them that just, I don't know, they just didn't feel like they could go really well by doing just that full on, you know, straight across columns and rows type of grid that I normally do. So what I decided to do for this one is to group different ones together. So different stories, things that were similar, and then I would just decorate for that particular one. And that made it feel a little bit more, I don't know, I guess it made it feel a little bit more cohesive. It isn't my favorite because it feels a little bit disjointed, but I really wanted to get these smaller stories down. And what you'll find in here too is that I do a bunch of weekly recaps. So if I have a photo or a story or something that, you know, kind of deserves its own page, then it will get one. Otherwise, it gets bundled up into a week and it just ends up in a recap like this. This is my 10 on 10 from May, and I used all of the issue number 17, 18, I forget, 18. It's issue number 18. I used the printables from that because I had a purple shirt. I had just some lighter photos, and so I felt like these colors would go really well with these photos. I for a while was utilizing stories. Well, I post these 10 on 10s in my stories every month. And then I use the journaling there to kind of say what the photo is about. And then I will actually not print the original. I have my camera, or I have my Instagram settings set to every time I post to stories, Instagram will save that image into my camera roll. So now I have this photo saved in my camera roll and it's got the journaling already on it. So I do utilize that function quite a bit for these projects. So that is my 10 on 10 for May. Here is probably one of my very favorite pages. Number one, love these colors. Number two, I was really experimenting still again, and still continue to experiment with stamp collaging and stamp clustering and just anything to do with stamping. I love it so much. And so I did this whole section here that, would have normally been like where a card would go. But I really wanted to play with stamps, and I really wanted to make a big impact on the page. So I used a combination of large serif open letters and smaller letters, different kinds of sentiments in the different colors, and it just really, I feel like it made such a big impact on the page. Other than that, this is typically what an Unpocket page looks like. This is kind of the structure of that situation, because I have so many 3x4 cards, and we all do. But I eventually got tired of utilizing pockets and albums, and this is just a way of maintaining that design style, which I really enjoy, and still utilizing my product. This is a week 20 recap, and I basically, have all the pictures the same size and then fill it in with different cards that I've either cut to be smaller or small, embellishment clusters like this with a tag and a couple of things stapled to it. And I didn't really have enough to fill in these other 4 spots. And so I just figured, let me just make a big giant cluster with one card. And this is kind of how it turned out. Not super typical of me to do something like that, but I do like trying new things, and I like kind of making an impact. I like something to be the focal point of the page, whether it's, stamping or a big cluster of embellishments like this. So I had fun with this one. Another one of my very favorites, because this is my favorite Felicity Jane kit ever. This kit is the Sarah kit, and it is finally available as digital. So I did pick up the digital kit so that I can reprint these colors and these cards anytime I want, because this color combination and the design just is the best. It's so super fun. And I paired these colors with some brand new Citrus Twist goodies, which happened to come out. I believe they were a September release. So that's probably when I was working on this, even though it's, obviously you have to work backwards. So I'm not super current, but I did a lot of stitching on this particular layout. That was kind of the thing, is I stitched on every single piece. Sometimes I was just stitching the photo down to the card. Sometimes I was stitching the embellishments together. So that's something that I like to do as well. Try to, in order to make things cohesive, you're utilizing the same type of element repeatedly throughout the page. And obviously I love a big giant number title card thing, so it's definitely fun. Here is week 24's review. Now you're going to see that I don't have a week 21. I don't have a week 23. It just, sometimes there's not enough photos from that week to justify having an entire recap. So I really only use the recap situations for things where I have an abundance of photos that I didn't get a chance to document specifically. So what that allows me to do is have one full photo on one of the pages, which turned out to be this gorgeous photo of some flowers that Gibson left for me. And it was just such a perfect fit for all of the rest of these. And it really drove the colors and things that I used, like these Felicity Jane florals and a couple of the tags from my summer Retro Hit magazine issue, which I believe was 19. So it really allowed me to, just kind of cluster all of the smaller photos and cards into one section with a big impact with that photo. Oh, I've skipped some pages. Sometimes what I'll do is I will go through and pencil in what what photos or what stories need to be told on what pages, just so that I can try to keep things chronological. So at some point I must have wanted to do that, but then I skipped a few pages thinking that I needed to leave some room at the end of the month. So to me, that does not mean that this is an incomplete album. You'll actually see some other things that would lead someone to think that this was an incomplete album. But to me, it's just good as it is. So we're going to continue on with those blank pages. This is another Unpocket page. I had so much fun using this kit from Shauna Clearman. It's one of hers from Illustrated Faith. And the colors were perfect for these cute little shorts that I got over the summer. I loved them so much and just had fun with this brand new haircut and wanted to just get everything documented. And really, it's just playing with color. This really what it's all about. The photos just happen to be what kind of drives the color for me to just completely play and have so much fun with color. And even this right here was from an old Ellie Studio paper pack. This was probably from 2017. So I love seeing these colorways come back and cycle through our community again, because sometimes we hang on to little things like this that really catch our eye and we think, oh, I just love that color combination. But for a while, maybe there aren't supplies that are coming out. You know, we do as a community, as creators, we do go in and out of cycles with colors. So I was so happy to see these colors kind of come back, and I was able to get a little bit more use out of that particular paper that I loved so much. Here is a one page. It's just got all kinds of fun pictures from me being able to go to the Whatever Craft House with Kelly Bangs and her creative team. So I did actually a separate mini book with a lot more of the photos of us girls and more about each person and some of the more specific things that we did. What I wanted to document here were kind of the leftover photos of just the color and the ambiance and like the vibe of the house. And then of course with a picture of us and like a picture of me resting on the couch, stuff like that. But it wasn't meant to be like documenting the trip or documenting the relationships or anything like that. So really it was just about the house. And then I filled in the empty places with stamping instead of extra embellishments. And that in a book like this, stamping is so key too, because, you know, it's going to get chunky at some point. But for me, I love mixing in the stamping so that it does kind of keep it from getting too chunky, even though I love using my embellishments. But sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit more of a flat surface. Anyway, usually I don't decide I'm not going to use any embellishments. Sometimes what happens is I get playing with the stamps and I will just start picking stamps. I'll just start placing them places, and then that's just what works as my embellishment. So that's kind of how that ends up. Here we are at June. So we've done all of May, and now June starts with its own 2x2 page. I did a lot of stitching on this one as well, and a lot of clustering and layering with some fun things that I printed on sticker paper. Super fun. This is a page I made using a print off of this beautiful artwork that Amy Cleaver gave to each of us girls when we were at the Whatever Craft House. I wanted to make sure that I got that documented and just the story behind her giving one of them to each of us. And I had been dying to use the simple stories. I believe this is Hello Today. It's their big kit that has like a whole cut apart page and 12 by 12 cut apart page with 3x4s for the whole entire year. So the oranges and the yellows were absolutely perfect to go with this beautiful custom art print. And I just had to tell the story and then of course use a little Felicity Jane girl. And I pulled in that mint here in different places throughout the page. This here is me documenting my Thursday 3. So I actually wrote the whole thing out from my Instagram caption and then just used some things from the issue number 20 Retro Hit Magazine printables to just document these black and white photos of me at the craft house. And then another photo from the craft house is me and Elizabeth Manna. I just adore her. We have become very, very good friends. And I ended up making this little 3x4 card graphic for the two of us because of all of the things that we have in common: Cheez-Its and murder shows, the Golden Girls lists and leggings, and crafting and small business stuff. So I had to, of course, use those two things together to document. And then I had the most fun with this page because it's just, look at all the stamping. It's all stamping. It is so much fun. And the way I tend to start a project like this is I start with the bigger pieces. So I know that I'm going to start here with this as my foundation, and then I basically just build around it. And I start with the larger pieces like Weekend or the rainbow, those kinds of things. And then I fill in with smaller sentiments and smaller items that would fit and make sense for the story. So that was really super fun. Here's my 10 on 10 from June. And sometimes I was able to really manipulate the colors for myself. And I say manipulate, I guess the better word would be to plan the colors. Like, for example, I knew I was going to wear this shirt that day. So I kind of did things on purpose to make things match. Like, so I made this graphic for my story from, within my stories, I made this graphic to match. I made it with that same pink color. I actually had already changed my watch face to have that same color. And then I used this pink bowl, just little things throughout the day that I was like, oh, this would be really cute to use because this is kind of the color scheme that I'm going with. That way for me, it's much easier when I'm at this point so that I'm not struggling to find embellishments and cards and stuff that go with the photos. So I do try to make it cohesive while I'm taking the photos. It does take a little bit of extra planning ahead or just thinking about the color as you're documenting, but to me, it's worth it. Now, this is the end of the book, so I have nothing else documented, and I only have these 2 weeks left, and I might not even do anything with them. To me, I'm calling this book done. I don't have any real interest in doing another recap or documenting the rest of this. I feel like I have the things in here. If anybody were to come in here in 40 years, this is what they'd see, and I would not really care. So I might end up finishing these 2 pages. I might just end up putting these up where they belong and calling it good. So right now, for me and you, we're calling it good right now with this May and June look inside of my Heidi Swap Storyline Chapters notebook. And I will be back soon to share my July and August books. Thank you guys again so much for watching, being here, being so super supportive. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Give me a like, give me a thumbs up. Would love it. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.